So I guess I don't see anybody signed up under public comment right now. This is our second budget workshop. We did ask if anybody had any questions or things that they would like more clarifying information on, to let the superintendent and her team know. As of this afternoon, we hadn't received anything. So what I think we should plan on doing is having the superintendent perhaps give a quick, just high level recap on where we are with the numbers, with the budget requests that we looked at last week, and then open it up for discussion. And if the board feels comfortable, our hope is that we can take action this evening on the budget. But I will say right now, if that doesn't work for folks for whatever reason, we can talk about taking action anytime within the next week, as long as we get it done before the 15th. But that would either take a special meeting or action at our next regular board meeting. But let's get going. Dr. Youngberg, is there anything you want to share with us?
Sure. First of all, I want to say today was a great day for Windham Public Schools. We started the vaccination round, so very exciting to see staff members get over to Windham Hospital through the Hartford healthcare programming. It went very smoothly. Everyone who went there said the same thing, that it was well run, really well organized. There was hardly any wait time, very friendly staff. So we really appreciate Hartford Healthcare and Windham Hospital. And they'll be back tomorrow. And we're still working on trying to get people registered. We know there were some issues with the registration process initially, but they sent us a special link today that I just pushed out to the staff through email to hopefully make that a little easier to work with. So we're hoping to get everyone through between tomorrow and Saturday. So in terms of the budget, what I presented last week, and I can share my screen and just bring up sort of the summary slide. Give me one sec here. All right, can everyone see the PowerPoint?
No.
No, okay.
See,
All right. Not sure.
We see email.
That's great. Hang on one second, we'll try again. There we go. Now you should be able to see my PowerPoint.
Yes.
Okay, so just back up a second. So when we basically figured all the places, as I mentioned at our last budget workshop, we asked the principals and the directors of each department to sort of give us their wish lists in terms of what they believe they needed in their schools and in their departments to adequately respond to our students when they return post-COVID. And when we figured all that out, it would have been a budget increase of 8.04%, which is a significant budget increase. We then figured in our projected surplus funds and the new monies that we've been told we're going to receive to support the post-COVID response through the ESSER 2 funds. And we were able to bring that increase down to a 2% increase. So the last we talked, in addition to the 2% increase, we also have made a commitment. If we do indeed close out with the surplus, we will be returning the ECS 2% set aside, which is about $483,000. So the budget, the 2% request that is in the recommended budget would allow our schools and departments to have all the things that the leaders of those have asked for to adequately support our response to COVID. So I don't know, like you said, Lynn, there weren't specific questions about the budget, but there are big buckets.
Right. Well, I think what we can do is open it up in case there are any questions this evening. And I do also want to just add to what you just said, that in case people haven't done the math already, the increase, the 2% increase that we're asking for adds up to $974,600 $339. And that is, you know, I neglected to check on the current rate that equaled 1 mil in Windham right now. There's a dollar amount each year that the Board of Finance works with, that, you know, like 1 mil equals $850,000 or whatever. So my guess is, without having a firm answer on that, unless anybody here knows, it's over a 1 mil impact at this point, this request. I'm not trying to say that as a negative thing. I'm just trying, in case people are wondering what that equals, that's what it would be. So, does anybody have any questions?
This is Mary.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here. Did we get anyone from the Board of Finance? I don't believe anyone was at our meeting because it coincided with theirs, but have we gotten any indication of their assessment of budgets and things?
We've been talking with the Board of Finance all along, and there is going to be conversation once we approve what we would like to go to the Board of Finance with. There will be conversations with the chair of the board in preparation for our presentation and working the process through with the Board of Finance. But we have not gotten any direction, unless Mark, you have. We haven't gotten any direction from the Board of Finance saying, you better not come in, you know, above this amount or below this amount. I think that's probably because they have been following and attending our Finance and Audit Committee meetings and watching this budget pretty closely. And there's been a lot of communication ongoing, and they have a sense of where we're landing right now. They also know about the ESSER funds and where we're standing. That may not be enough of an answer for you, Mary, but that's all I can say at this point. Mark, do you have anything to add to that?
No, you're right. I haven't got any direct word from the Board of Finance yet, or from Tyler, but they've been aware of what we're doing. I know we've had informal discussions up to now, and Tyler's aware and seems to be on a positive note from what we're doing, but we clearly need to get a little more. We'll get more feedback from the Board of Finance and the rest of them, but I have nothing specific.
Well, I know when when we had our meeting and Neil Weathers attended the Board of Finance meeting on our behalf, because we were having a meeting, one question that was asked is, how are we going to end, like where are we going to end at the end of the year with a surplus? If we're going to have a surplus, and what we think that's going to be. So my guess is that some Board of Finance members are trying to like figure out what we're requesting and our surplus, how the two connect with each other.
Yeah, we are still predicting we're going to finish with the surplus, but right now it's difficult for us to determine how big that surplus is going to be, especially since we're now moving to getting kids back to school in person. You know, we started this week with the 4 days per week. And so some of those places in our staffing structure that we haven't relied on, we know we're going to need, even though all along we've been sort of trying to fill many of them. So we do anticipate bringing new people on board and potentially requiring new supports and materials as the kids come back to us. So it's hard to predict because we're in this unusual situation, but we do still anticipate having a surplus at the end of this year.
Then, yeah. Dr. Tracy, how does this, the original prediction of this budget was on, it still had us looking at a deficit in food services. You just sent us an email with some update as to how we can use funds. Is that going to impact this budget?
It shouldn't, or I should say, we're going to work hard for it not to. We are allowed to apply funds, ESSER 2 funds, ESSER 1 and 2 funds, after we've gone through all the things that the email went out to the board members today, Rita, the one that I shared with you at the end of last week. So we can cover the costs using those funds after we've jumped through a few hoops for them. So I don't anticipate having a big impact on this budget.
And anybody, Neil, I sort of jumped in and said what you heard at the meeting. Is there anything else you want to share with us that might speak to what the Board of Finance is thinking based on your last meeting with them?
Sure. Really, in terms of the surplus, there was a general question asking about it, and they sort of asked for details, and kind of what Tracy was saying earlier, Dr. Youngberg was saying, I couldn't give an exact number because there's too many variables in play at this time. For example, we were changing learning models, and it's hard to predict. But they were starting to ask for. They were asking about it, and I basically said I couldn't give a specific answer.
Mm-hmm. Which is the correct answer.
Yeah, which is the truth.
Any other comments, questions, issues that board members would like to raise?
I'm just going to say that I think it's a pretty reasonable budget and rate increase based on all the needs that we have. And I do understand some people, you know, have been suffering more than they need with, or they, you know, with the COVID and jobs, etc. But on the other hand, it's very important that we have a full budget to help our children.
Anybody else?
I think also I agree with Dr. Cabana that this is a definite doable ask. 2%. They shouldn't have any questions. They just, you know what I mean? It's such a small ask that it's very reasonable. And I also want to say to Rita and her staff, this book was so well put together. It's amazing. All the numbers and everything. I mean, it was perfect. It was legible. There's no questions. I for one appreciate it. Appreciate this very well put together budget book. I just had to say that. Thank you.
And we need to also give kudos to Janet Testa and Laura Perez Handler for sort of conceptualizing. Okay, I just got conceptualizing and carrying it out. I got the answer from the chair of the Board of Finance that 1 mil equals, just in case those of you who want to know, $959,800, $959,586. So actually this is less, this is a little bit more than a mil, but right around a mil. Very close to 1 mil. I'm not being rude. Hopefully you won't think I'm rude to just thank Tyler for getting me that answer.
I think Paula had her hand up.
Yes,
then.
Paula, you had your hand up.
You're on mute.
Changed it. Okay. I do agree that it's a very reasonable budget. And I think one of our important things to educate the public and whomever about is the difference between our budget, our operating budget, and the ESSER funds that we're going to be getting. I can just foresee issues and questions coming up about that. And I think it would be helpful if we're all aware of it and can answer to that.
Sure. So I can share my screen again and go through show everyone the 4 buckets that the ESSER 2 funds will we'll have to prove we're spending the money out of the 4 buckets, the 4 priorities that they've identified. And in the February 2nd webinar, superintendents and business managers, Rita and I attended, they literally said over and over again, this money is not to be used for operating costs. This is about responding to community and student need post-COVID. So they made a point of saying that that needed to happen. So let me just share my screen so that you can see the, I'm having such a tough time today, I'm not sure what's happening, that you can see the 4 priorities. So hopefully you can see the screen. Academic supports, learning loss, learning acceleration and recovery, family and community connections, school safety and social emotional well-being of the whole student and of our school staff, and remote learning, staff development, and the digital divide. So every dollar that we have, that we're going to propose spending has to fall within these 4 priorities. And again, it cannot be used for operating costs. And actually, we are still waiting on the application to be open. I actually had Janet verify today that it wasn't open and I wasn't missing anything. We have to present, we have to fill out through the digital system how we are proposing we're going to fill these 4 buckets and then go from there. And every single dollar, every initiative that we run through the SO2 funds has to be supported by a needs assessment, which they've sent us a fairly lengthy process they want us to follow. So we have to prove that whatever we're doing, proposing to spend from these priorities, that there's data to support why we're doing it. So it is not going to be used for operating costs. We're going to follow the rules because it's a significant amount of money and we don't want them to tell us we're not getting it. So we're definitely following the rules on this one.
I think Paula's point is well taken, though. Last year we did, that sort of several different ways of doing presentations to the public about our budget and whatever. And so we will need to make sure when we do those presentations, which will be pretty much virtual at this point, I would guess, we'll need to make sure we're very clear with people about why that money can't be used to plug holes for other things, and that there's no sleight of hand happening here and all that kind of stuff. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Bettina.
Do we have to always have a referendum, or can the Board of Finance just decide? I mean,
It's in the town charter.
That we have to have a referendum?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And people may remember in the charter revision, there were some recommendations on, limiting the amount of referenda that can happen. And that was one part of the charter revision that was turned down by the voters. So definitely referendum. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Brendan, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you should feel free to speak up if there's something you want to have a question about. I know you've been trying to follow this leading up to today.
Yeah, no, I have been following it, and this is definitely a well put together book. Definitely one of the clearest I've ever seen, which I think leads to the few questions. And I think 2% is a very reasonable ask at this point in time. So I'm happy with what I'm seeing so far.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else who wants to speak up? Wow, okay. I think this is a testament to how much we've been talking about our finances throughout the year too, and how clear it has been. So I think, there are very few surprises here. There are really no surprises probably for most of us. So we can move on to action items, and I would entertain a motion from somebody. We did get a recommended motion in our packet. Would anybody like to make that motion?
Lynn, I'll make the motion to approve the budget as proposed by the superintendent for the 2021-2022 fiscal year.
Hilda, I
the-
second that.
Great.
Anything?
Motion made by Tracy, seconded by Ilda. Do we have to have the dollar amounts that are in this language in our motion?
I am perfectly okay with Ms. Testa adding those in. I don't have that paper. I
Yeah.
don't have my iPad with me and I can't open
Okay.
that while I'm doing this, so.
Okay, so I'm going to read out loud what was here, okay? That the Board of Education approve an all funds budget of $74,163,744, which includes a general fund budget of $49,574,083 and grant fund budget of $24,589,661. This represents an increase of 2% over the all funds budget for 2020-2021.
That one. I make that motion.
Tracy Lambert makes that motion and it was seconded by Ilda.
Yes,
Is
I
that okay with you,
second it.
Ilda? Yep, I see a
Yes.
thumbs up.
Thank you for the reading, Lynn.
Okay, any discussion on this?
Nope.
Okay, so we'll take a roll call vote. Please, Janet.
Ms. Ives,
Aye.
Dr. Galucci,
Aye.
Dr. Gomez is not on the call.
Right.
Dr. Cabana and
Aye.
Mr. Doyle,
Aye.
Ms. Haney,
Aye.
Ms. Lambert,
Aye.
Mr. O'Neill,
Aye.
Ms. Ray.
Aye.
Unanimously supported by the board, minus the one person who is absent. And woohoo, we got a budget.
This is the easiest it's been in 12 years. Nice job, Dr. Youngberg.
Absolutely. Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody. And thank you to my team as well. Thanks.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
so
You have a great team.
this is so well done. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And
Did you see
So-
Mary's little fiesta hat?
yes, I did. Mary
Oh.
put a party favor there or something. So we're on to public comment. Is there anybody who would like to say anything during public comment? Okay, seeing none, that's about the shortest budget meeting I've ever been in. 25 minutes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:25.
I move, we move.
Awesome.
Do I get a second on that?
Second. By
Second.
Hilda.
Tracy and Ilda, meeting adjourned at 7:26
Wow.
PM.
Guys,
That's a record. That's
That's
definitely a record.
awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Good
we have a
night.
board meeting next week.
Congrats on your first official vote, Brendan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Good night,
care.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.